This is the S&B cold air intake with the reusable high flow oiled filter, available for your 2019 and newer 5.3 Silverado 1500. Now the S&B that we have here with us today would be an awesome choice for truck owners looking for a fan favorite system here on the site, all at a very affordable price point when compared to some of the other heavy hitters in the category. Now, when installed, the S&B will help provide a little bit more power, a little bit more sound and throttle response, along with a more modified underhood appearance on your ride. Now the S&B will feature that durable ABS plastic build, reusable oiled filter here, maybe one of the biggest in the category, along with a very nice sealed enclosure, and will not require the use of any custom or can tuning for right around that low $400 price point. All right, big features here. The S&B do include things like the rotomolded plastic intake tube and your corresponding sealed enclosure or airbox, with maybe my favorite part, the nice little plexiglass window etched with the S&B logo, allowing you to keep an eye on the cleanliness of your filter over time. Now, if you didn't know, the sealed enclosure here is certainly my preferred design when you're looking to isolate that filter from the hot engine bay air, which can hurt your performance. So again, if you're looking to keep your performance up and those intake air temperatures down, sealed enclosures will always be the way to roll. Now, this particular kit does also feature or include S&B's signature oiled filter. Look at this thing, absolutely massive. Now, if you didn't know, the oiled options do slightly outflow dry filters. However, they do need a little bit more maintenance over time, but not a lot. Maybe a little cleaning and re-oiling every 50 to 100,000 miles, depending on your driving environment. Now the S&B does also feature a unique design here, which allows you to open up more of the airbox if you wanted to for maybe a little bit more sound. Keep in mind that does open up the possibility to get some of that heat into the system. Luckily, S&B does include a plug that allows you to seal things off nice and tight. Now, ultimately here, guys, our final feature is performance-based, which a lot of owners are really looking forward to when you're installing something like this. And while S&B doesn't give us any exact numbers here for your gains, they do give us a staggering 50% increase in airflow, which in turn should lead to some pretty healthy gains overall, in addition to a little bit more throttle response. And keep in mind, guys, again, all of this is possible without the use of any custom or can tuning. All right, moving into construction here, guys, and again, we are looking at that heat-resistant plastic throughout with the S&B. Big fan of that material. Again, that is gonna be your friend at keeping those intake air temperatures down, as the plastic is less susceptible to heat, so compared to maybe a metal tube or metal heat shield and so forth. Now, the airbox is also gonna be a molded plastic design. We got a really nice embossed S&B logo here on the side. We've already kind of talked about that clear plexiglass window, which, by the way, is removable. So again, if you did want to get some of that added noise of an aftermarket intake, you can certainly pop that thing off and hear a little bit more of a growl under acceleration. But mainly that is to help you keep an eye on the cleanliness of your filter over time. All right, speaking of the filter, this system does feature that absolutely massive 8-layer oiled cotton design. It is washable, it is reusable, like we mentioned earlier over the years. Just a little bit of a re-oiling may be necessary after several thousand miles. Not a big deal whatsoever. Now, S&B does also incorporate their high-quality silicone couplers throughout. These can handle temperatures as high as 400 degrees. Really nice stuff, guys. And then last but not least, they do include all of the hardware. They kick in a MAF extension, a mass airflow extension, and all the accessories needed for a relatively easy install. Moving into pricing, and the S&B will hover in that low $400 ballpark, give or take a bit, which puts this middle of the pack with other intakes on the site. For instance, you could certainly go with a more budget-friendly option from Rough Country or Spectre. On the other side of that coin, you do have more expensive options from Corsa or K&N. So never a bad idea to kind of weigh your options and see where you'd like to net out with your budget. But what I will say is the S&B, for the money, checks a lot of boxes here, guys. Really well built, well thought out system with the nice sealed enclosure and plexiglass lid. Pretty solid warranty, and I would say all at a very fair price. All right, enough yapping. Let's show you how to get the S&B installed on your newer 5.3 Silverado at home. Site's gonna correctly call this a solid 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about an hour or so to complete from start to finish. But now to give you a better idea of how this one might go down in the garage or driveway at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, clip remover tool, Phillips head screwdriver, 19mm wrench, 10mm ratcheting wrench, T15 Torx wrench, scissors or diagonal cutters, an extension, 1/4 inch socket, 8 and 10mm sockets, and T20 Torx socket. What's up guys? Today we're installing an intake on our Silverado. First we're going to watch a quick uninstall video showing you how to remove your factory intake, and then I'll meet you right back here for the install.
Getting started, we need to obviously pop our hood here on our Silverado, and then first step is to unplug your mass airflow sensor. You're gonna wanna pull back on this red clip and then release the plug. So again, slide the red portion back. At that point, you can release the clip. Next up, we're gonna work on removing the intake tube portion of the factory intake. Getting started, we can loosen up our clamp here at the airbox connection. Either use a flathead screwdriver for this or an 8mm socket. Next up, we're going to loosen up the clamp here at the throttle body connection, again using a flathead screwdriver or an 8mm socket. With our 2 clamps loosened up, we're about ready to pull out the intake tube portion, but before we do, we have to go ahead and remove our PCV hose on the back here, push in on the gray clip, and pull back. At this point now, we can go ahead and remove our intake tube from the engine bay, releasing it from the throttle body, and then from the airbox. Next up, we need to remove the upper radiator valance here. There are 10 plastic clips holding this in place, so grab a trim removal tool, flathead screwdriver, whatever you have laying around. You're gonna wanna pop the top off this clip and then remove the clip itself. Now before we go ahead and remove our upper radiator valance, we do need to remove the hood latch release. To do so, you need a T15 Torx tool. With that removed, you can slide it off. With the latch out of the way, now you can remove your valance. The reason you removed your upper radiator valance is to gain access to this clip right here. Basically, you need to pop this guy out. With that clip removed, that'll allow you to pull back the snorkel just enough to get out of that stock airbox. Now we can go ahead and remove this 10mm nut down here, and that will be our first step in removing our stock airbox. Next up, we need to remove this wiring harness and clip from the airbox itself. It's actually attached to a bracket there. To do so, you could either use a small pick tool, flathead screwdriver to release the clip back here and then pull up. At this point, our stock airbox is ready to come out. Couple little tips here. You're gonna wanna push this out of the way, just to kind of secure it underneath one of your hoses. And then also, there are 2 rubber grommets on the back side of the airbox. You don't wanna lose those.
So now that we have our factory intake removed, we're gonna have to grab our box so that we can remove our mass airflow sensor. So now we're gonna take a T20 torque socket to remove these two screws. And then slide that sensor up. So now we can go ahead and assemble our intake box. We've got a lot of pieces here, from grommets to the clip for our harness to our filter. You're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver and a 4mm Allen wrench or Allen socket to get this done. So now I'm gonna start off with the smaller stuff, and then we'll get to the bigger grommets and the filter. The first thing I'm gonna put on is the clip for our wire harness. So you're gonna slide that Allen bolt that's included in the kit in. Take your 4mm Allen socket, thread that in. And I'm just gonna throw my ratchet on the other side just to snug it down. You don't need to go super tight. And then we can get the grommet that's going right here. We've got a shallow side in the middle that we're gonna need to get into that groove. So you can get your hand inside to help work it in from the bottom. Now we can put the grommets onto our feet here, and then we're gonna tighten those down with a Phillips head screw. So just get that centered and take a Phillips head screwdriver and screw that into your intake box. And then do that same thing on the other one. And then once you have those in, you can start installing these grommets. Now this big rectangular one is an optional one. If you want more airflow, you can leave this off. For demonstration purposes, I'm gonna install everything in the kit. So I'm gonna slide that in. There's that little ridge in there that this lip is gonna sit in. So just pick a corner and get started there, and then just work your way around. Once you get your corners in, your sides will just snap in pretty easily. And then we have our top piece with the glass. Now you're gonna wanna get this side started first with the curve. It'll make it a lot easier to get the other sides in. And then we'll flip it around to our last one. Now this one, you want the side that looks like this, inward. So once again, we're just gonna start on a corner, get one side in, and then work our way around. So now we can assemble our intake tube. So the first thing we need to do is install our MAF sensor. We have this little foam spacer, followed by the piece that this is going to slide into, followed by our MAF sensor. And then you can take the screws included in the kit, drop those into place, and take a Phillips head screwdriver to screw them down. So now we can start assembling our intake tube. The first thing I'm going to do is take our mass airflow sensor, slide this bracket onto it, and then slide your foam spacer. Slide this into your tube, drop your two screws included in the kit into place, and take a Phillips head screwdriver to tighten those down. And then we can install our PCV line fitting, thread that in, and then we'll take a 19mm wrench to snug it up. It is a plastic fitting, so you don't want to go crazy tight on it. And now with those installed, we can set up our new PCV line. So we're going to need to slide a clamp on, followed by our connector. Same thing on the other side. And I'm just going to leave these loose for now so that we can still pivot this fitting to get it to fit how it should. So now we're going to slide our intake box into position. Now the two grommets here are going to go into these holes in the bracket. gonna have to get a little creative to get this in here. So now we need to reinstall the nut on that stud that our grommet went through. So it's pretty hidden, it's gonna be hard to see on camera, but you can reach in through that hole for the filter and thread your nut onto the stud. And then we'll grab a 10mm ratcheting wrench and tighten it down. I've got a 10mm S wrench here, but you can use a regular one. And then once you have that in place, you can take your wire harness and slide it onto our fitting here. Press that down into place. And then we can grab our air filter and slide that into the hole. Now, just like all of these grommets, this has that same kind of slot. So you gotta work that into place. Next, we need to remove this support bracket for our factory intake box, as well as our factory PCV line. So we've got a 10mm bolt going through our alternator into our bracket. So grab a 10mm socket to remove that. Now grab a clip remover tool to separate your wire harness from that bracket. And then you've got one clip on the bottom as well. Then you can fully remove your bracket. And now we can remove our PCV line. Now the side of the connector you need to push in is towards the inside here. So you can rotate this around to give yourself easier access. Push that in and pop that off. So now we can install our intake tube. The first thing you're gonna wanna get is your coupler. Now there are 2 couplers included in the kit, so make sure you get the one that fits your throttle body. For us, that's a nice tight fit over there. So this is the one we're gonna use. So I'm gonna take a clamp here. I'm gonna put the side with the screw on the side of the throttle body that doesn't have this module here. Slide that on, get your coupler over, and then get your smaller clamp on the throttle body side. Now I'm gonna get this on the throttle body first, and then we can just rotate our pipe down and into our filter. Now we can take an 8mm socket and tighten down our 3 clamps. And just give it a tug, make sure it's in there nice and tight. And then do the same thing on your filter. A little tug, make sure it's not going anywhere. Next, we're going to install our extension harness for our MAF sensor. Just go ahead and plug it in on one side, and then find your connector. Slide that in until you hear that click, and then press that red locking tab down into place. Now we can install our mass airflow sensor extension harness. So I'm gonna put this side onto our MAF sensor, press it on until you hear a click, and then I'm gonna run it over our intake tube and under it, over to the other side where I'm gonna plug in to the body harness. Press it in until you hear the click, and then press this red locking tab down into place. And now we're gonna use these special zip ties included in the kit. They've got like a little Christmas tree clip on the other side, so we can run our wire through it. Gonna connect up that zip tie. I'm not gonna tighten it all the way down. And then we've got this hole back here that we can push our zip tie clip portion into, and then just clamp down on your zip tie and take a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters just to cut off the excess of that. And now we do also have a couple holes in our intake box that we can put those zip ties as well. Now you're probably all right with it just like this to not get into the fan, but I'm just gonna do one more just to be safe here. So once again, I'm just gonna wrap my wire, get my zip tie started, and then press it into the hole in the intake box. Now that's nice and out of the way, it won't get anywhere near our fan. so we can pull to tighten on our zip tie, and then take our scissors or diagonal cutters and cut off our excess zip tie. And now we can install our PCV line. So I'm going to press it onto our valve cover first, and then we can get it connected to the fitting on our intake tube. Now this here is why I left those clamps loose, so you can twist this around to get it to fit. And then just press it on until you hear that click. And now I'm going to grab a 1/4 inch socket and fully tighten down my clamps. That's nice and tight on there. So I'll do the same thing over here. So now the only things we have left to do are reinstall the push clip on our intake duct and then reinstall our radiator cover. Just get that lined up with your hole, press it in, and now you can grab your radiator cover, drop that into place, and now we can reinstall all of our push clips. And then you can slide the handle back onto your hood latch. And then take a T15 Torx wrench and thread in those 2 screws. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the SMB cold air intake with oiled cleanable cotton filter for your 2019 and newer 5.3 liter Silverado 1500. Thank you for watching, and for all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.